In the far reaches of the galaxy, stars shone like scattered diamonds against the dark sea of space. Worlds of many colors and shapes orbited them, some covered in forests, some in oceans, and others built entirely from metal and light. Among these countless worlds, the Galactic Union ruled with calm order. It had been thousands of years since the Union was formed. Different species lived together, some tall and silver-skinned, some covered in scales, some with glowing eyes or mechanical limbs. But none of them had ever seen a human. Humans were only known from stories, old tales that scholars sometimes whispered to children. The stories said that long ago, before the Great Silence, there was a wild and fearless species called humans. They built ships that could move faster than any other, fought wars that shook the heavens, and even challenged the gods of old empires. But then one day they vanished. Most believed they were only legends, myths told to inspire courage or warn against chaos. Humans never existed, people would say. They are just stories to make you brave. But one being never believed that. His name was Krellin Vor, an alien archaeologist from the world of Ithora, a quiet planet known for its scholars. He was tall, with gray-blue skin and 4 thin arms that could hold several tools at once. Krellin loved the past more than anything, while others studied profit or power. He searched for forgotten truths buried under stars and dust. For 10 long years, he explored abandoned moons and ruined worlds, searching for evidence of the lost species. Every clue he found only deepened his curiosity. Ancient ruins with strange letters, fragments of old machines and rare energy signals that matched no known technology. One day, his ship, the starlit Voyager, landed on an icy moon orbiting the dead planet Arion 9. The scanners had detected a strange metallic structure deep under the frozen crust. Most thought it was another broken mining station, but Krellin's heart told him otherwise. With his team of drones and assistants, he began to dig through the thick layers of ice. The work was slow, cold, and silent. For hours, the only sound was the hum of engines and the whisper of cutting beams. Then finally, one of the drones hit something solid. Metal detected, the machine's voice announced. Krellin's eyes glowed brighter. He brushed away the frost carefully, and what appeared before him made his breath stop. It was not a station or a factory. It was a ship, a small, sleek vessel with a shape unlike any Union design. Its surface was black, but strange symbols were carved into it. The letters were sharp and bold, half buried under centuries of ice. Krellin traced one of them with his finger and whispered the word written there. Horizon. The translation system could not understand it. But Krellin smiled softly. This is not Union language, he said. This is ancient human writing. For a moment, silence filled the cavern. Then Krellin ordered his team to open the ship. It took hours to break through the thick frozen hull, but when they finally entered, the inside was dark and silent, like a tomb. Everything inside was covered in dust and frost. The walls were lined with dim lights that flickered as if remembering life. There were seats, screens, and strange tools, none matching modern technology. At the center of the chamber stood a cryopod, a glass capsule large enough for one being. Krellin's scanners confirmed something impossible. Biological life signs detected, the drone reported. Weak but active. Krellin stepped closer, his heart racing. Inside the pod lay a figure, human in shape with pale skin and dark hair. She looked peaceful, as if asleep. Her hands were folded over her chest, and a faint blue glow surrounded her. Krellin could hardly breathe. Alive, and after all these centuries? He whispered. Impossible. But the readings were clear. The being inside was alive, and her species matched no record in the Union database. Krellin's voice trembled as he spoke the words that would echo through history. We have found a human. The discovery spread quickly. Within hours, every major news channel in the Union was broadcasting the story. Some said it was a hoax. Others called it the discovery of the millennium. The Galactic Council demanded Krellin to transfer the human immediately to the central station for study and safety. But Krellin refused. She is not an experiment, he argued. She is a person. Despite the pressure, he decided to wake her himself under controlled conditions. His ship's medical bay was prepared with care. Drones checked the systems, power was rerouted, and oxygen levels were adjusted to match the old Earth data Krellin had collected. Finally, the day came. Krellin stood beside the pod, his heart beating fast. He entered the final sequence. The cryopod hissed softly, releasing a mist of cold vapor. Lights blinked in rhythm. Slowly, the glass lifted open. The woman's chest rose and fell. Her fingers twitched. Then her eyes opened, clear, sharp, and full of confusion. Krellin stepped back. "Easy," he said in his softest tone. "You are safe." The woman blinked several times, looking around. Her voice came out weak but steady. Where am I?" "You are aboard the starlit Voyager," Krellin replied. "You were frozen for a very long time. My name is Krellin Vor. I found you." She tried to sit up, but he gently helped her. "What year is it?" she asked. Krellin hesitated. "By your calendar?" "About 2,000 years since the fall of Earth." The word Earth made her eyes widen. "Earth destroyed?" He looked down. "There is no record of it. Only fragments. I am sorry." For a long time she said nothing. Her gaze turned distant, as if looking through the walls and into memories of blue skies and sunlight. Finally she whispered, "My name is Captain Mira Solis of the Human Fleet Command. My ship was on a rescue mission." Her voice grew faint and Krellin nodded gently. "You have been asleep for centuries, Captain. The galaxy changed. Your people are gone." She closed her eyes, trying to understand the impossible truth. When she opened them again, there was strength in her gaze. "Then I will find out why." Over the next few days, Mira learned everything she could about this new galaxy. The languages, the technology, the strange species, all were new to her. She listened carefully, absorbing every detail. Krellin, meanwhile, studied her physiology and mind, amazed by how quickly she adapted. But the more she learned, the more questions arose. "You said the Union rules everything now," she said one evening. "How do they treat others?" Krellin hesitated. "They bring order," he said slowly, "but not everyone agrees with their rule. Many worlds are poor. Many voices are silenced. The Council fears chaos more than justice." Mira's eyes narrowed. Fear and control. "I've seen that before." In time she began helping with ship repairs, showing knowledge far beyond Union standards. Krellin often watched in silent awe as she worked with calm precision, fixing systems even his best engineers could not understand. When he asked her how she knew so much, she smiled faintly. "Humans were builders," she said. "We built things that lasted." One quiet night, as the ship orbited the frozen moon, Krellin stood at the window beside Mira. The stars shimmered in the distance. "I still can't believe you exist," he said softly. "Every legend said humans were monsters, unstoppable and cruel. But you are nothing like that." Mira looked at the stars, her voice calm. "Legends change over time. People fear what they don't understand." Krellin nodded slowly. "Do you think your people will ever return?" She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly with determination. "We never truly left," she said. "Somewhere out there, others may still be sleeping. And if they're not, then I will stand for them." Far away on the capital world of the Galactic Union, members of the Supreme Council gathered around a glowing screen. The image on it showed Captain Mira Solis standing beside Krellin. Her eyes, her posture, and her calm confidence sent unease through every leader present. One of them spoke in a quiet, fearful tone. "If she truly is human, then the old legends may be true." Another replied, "Then we must ensure those legends never rise again." The order was clear. Secret fleets began to move, but Mira Solis had already awakened, and though she did not yet know it, her return would soon change the fate of the galaxy forever. The galaxy had not seen such excitement in centuries. Across star systems, on screens and holoboards, the same headline appeared again and again. "A human has been found alive." To some, it was a miracle. To others, it was a reason for panic. Alien scholars rushed to study every record of humanity's past. Historians spoke in soft, trembling voices about old wars when humans had fought empires and won. Merchants whispered about what human technology might be worth. And the Galactic Union's leaders, those who ruled through order and fear, gathered in secret meetings to decide what to do about this awakening legend. Meanwhile, aboard the starlit Voyager, Captain Mira Solis continued to learn about the strange new world she had woken into. Mira spent her morning studying Union data files. Their systems were different, but not beyond her understanding. She learned about the modern galaxy, its laws and its fragile balance. She discovered that travel between stars was controlled by a network of jump gates, technology that was slower and weaker than what humans had once used. Krellin often stood nearby, answering her questions. Why is everything so controlled? Mira asked one day as she scrolled through the Union's laws. Even trade and communication seem restricted. Krellin gave a long sigh. The Union says control keeps peace, but many believe it only keeps power in the hands of a few. Mira's eyes narrowed. Peace without freedom is only silence. Krellin looked at her, surprised. You speak like an old philosopher, she smiled faintly. No, I speak like a soldier who's seen what happens when power forgets compassion. While Mira learned, the galaxy watched. Krellin had refused to hand her over to the Union immediately, saying she needed recovery time. That decision made him both famous and hunted. The Council sent him endless messages demanding her transfer. Some came with polite language, others with threats hidden under formal words. Are they afraid of me? Mira asked one evening as the stars glowed outside the ship's window. Krellin nodded slowly. They fear what you represent. To them, you are not one person. You are the return of a legend. Legends don't scare rulers, Mira said quietly. Truth does. A few days later, the starlit Voyager docked at a neutral station called Karnas Outpost, far from Union control. Krellin wanted to gather supplies and send data safely before the Union forces arrived. The outpost was a small city in space, built from connected modules and glowing tunnels. Aliens of every color and size walked its halls. Some stared in awe as Mira passed. Whispers followed her wherever she went. That's her, the human. She looks so ordinary. Ordinary? She's from the myths. Mira ignored the stares and focused on the mission. But as she and Krellin walked through the station's market, a group of armored soldiers appeared. Their armor carried the blue emblem of the Union. Their leader, a tall being with silver horns, stepped forward. By order of the Galactic Council, he said coldly, you will hand over the specimen known as human female. Designation unknown. Mira's eyes hardened. Specimen, she repeated softly. Krellin moved between them. She's not a specimen. She's under my protection. The commander raised a clawed hand. Then you both are under arrest. The soldiers reached for their weapons, but before anyone could move, the lights flickered and Mira was gone from sight. A second later, she appeared behind the commander, holding his weapon's power core between her fingers. You left your safety circuit open, she said calmly. Humans used to design those. The commander froze, unsure whether to attack or retreat. Around them, the crowd whispered in shock. Mira didn't raise her voice. I don't want to fight. But if you try to hurt my friend, I will stop you. Her tone was calm but firm, like steel wrapped in silk. The soldiers hesitated, then slowly backed away. The commander gave a final glare. This isn't over, he said. You've just declared war on the Union. When they were gone, Krellin exhaled in disbelief. How did you do that? You didn't even move fast. I barely saw you. Mira looked at the weapon core and smiled slightly. Training. And instincts. Humans learn to fight with their minds as much as their hands. That small incident spread through the galaxy faster than light. Someone in the market had recorded it, and within hours the video was everywhere. The clip showed the moment the Union soldiers were disarmed without violence. The caption read, "The human fought back." Across thousands of worlds, people watched it again and again. For the oppressed and the weak, it became a symbol of courage. For the Union rulers, it became a reason for alarm. The Galactic Council held another meeting that same night. In a vast chamber filled with light and shadows, alien leaders argued loudly. She cannot be allowed to move freely, one shouted. She is only one person, another protested. Why fear her? Because, said a quiet voice from the council's high seat, one spark can light a galaxy on fire. The decision was made. The human would be captured, alive if possible. Back on the starlit Voyager, Krellin watched as messages flooded in from strangers. Some were offers of help, others were warnings. Many were simply words of hope. Thank you, human. You give us courage. Mira read a few of them with quiet surprise. They see me as something more than I am, she said. Krellin smiled. Legends often begin that way. She looked at him. And how did they end in your stories? He hesitated. Usually with sacrifice, or victory that costs everything. Mira's eyes softened. Then let's make a new ending. Days later, while traveling through an uncharted region, their ship was attacked by pirates, half-starved aliens desperate for fuel and food. The starlit Voyager's defense systems were old and weak. Krellin panicked, trying to calculate an escape route, but the pirates' ships were faster. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. Let me handle this, She took control of the ship's console. Her fingers moved quickly, rerouting power and locking coordinates with precision. "We may not have weapons," she said, "but we have speed and brains." The pirates fired, but Mira maneuvered the ship through the asteroid belt with impossible accuracy. She used the asteroid's gravity to sling their ship around corners, making the enemy crash into rocks and debris. Krellin stared in amazement. "How did you learn that?" "Human pilots used to train in storms," she replied with a grin. "Space is just another storm." Within minutes, the pirates were gone and the ship was safe. But the recording of the battle, captured automatically by sensors, soon reached open channels. Once again, the galaxy watched in awe. The story of the awakened human spread farther than ever. In poor colonies and labor worlds, the whispers turned into songs. They called her the Dawn Captain, the one who stood against oppression without fear. Small groups of rebels began painting her image on walls, raising flags with an ancient symbol that once belonged to humanity, a circle with a single rising star inside. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to hope, but with hope came danger. The Union declared Krellin Vor a traitor and placed a bounty on both him and Mira. Fleets were sent to capture them. As the starlit Voyager hid among nebulae and distant moons, Krellin looked out the window at the stars. "They're coming for us," he said quietly. Mira stood beside him, calm and thoughtful. "They'll come harder next time. They'll send more ships," he turned to her. "What will you do?" She looked at the stars, her expression strong and steady. "What humans have always done when someone tries to silence us," she said. "We adapt. We fight smart, and we survive." That night, as Krellin repaired the ship's systems, he found Mira sitting quietly by the viewport, staring into the endless night. "Do you ever miss your time?" he asked gently. She nodded. "Every day. But maybe I was meant to wake up now. Maybe the galaxy needed to remember what it means to stand up again." Krellin smiled softly. "You sound like destiny," she shook her head. "Not destiny. Just a human who refuses to be forgotten." Far away in the golden towers of the Union's capital, the Supreme Council watched the newest recording of Mira's escape. The leader's voice echoed across the chamber. "This human inspires rebellion," he said. "If she awakens more of her kind, the Union will fall." Another replied, "Then we must act before she does." The leader's eyes glowed with cold light. "Prepare the fleets. Find the others. If any more humans exist, they must never wake." But destiny had already begun to move. In the darkness between stars, signals older than any Union code flickered back to life. Hidden beacons activated, ancient human distress calls now awakened by Mira's presence. Somewhere out there, deep in forgotten ruins, other cryopods began to hum softly. The galaxy was changing. The legend was rising. And the fear that once silenced the stars was returning, this time not against humanity, but for it. The galaxy was changing. Everywhere, the story of the awakened human spread like light through darkness. On mining colonies, factory worlds, and forgotten moons, people whispered her name, Captain Mira Solis. To some, she was a symbol of rebellion. To others, a sign that the old myths were true. But to the Galactic Union, she was a threat, a spark that could burn their entire empire to ashes. Mira and Krellin hid their ship in the Veil Nebula, a quiet region filled with colorful gases that blocked scanners. From there, they repaired the starlit Voyager and planned their next steps. Krellin worked on the ship's engines while Mira studied old star maps. She traced her finger across faint lines of forgotten routes. "These paths are older than your Union charts," she said softly. Krellin looked up. "Where do they lead?" "To places the Union erased," she answered. "Human outposts, maybe. Or battlefields. We built many worlds before the silence." Her eyes glowed faintly with determination. "If I can find one of them, maybe I can find others like me." For weeks they followed those forgotten paths. The Voyager traveled through abandoned sectors filled with broken ships and shattered stations. It was like sailing through a graveyard of stars. On one of those dead worlds, Mira found something that changed everything. A signal. It was faint and old, repeating endlessly. Human distress beacon. Code 7 Delta. Location Aryan system. Mira's hands trembled as she listened. "That's human code," she said. "From the old fleet command." Krellin's eyes widened. "Another ship?" "Or a colony," she whispered. "Maybe. Survivors. They followed the signal to the Arion system, a quiet place with 3 dead planets and 1 ruined moon. There, hidden under the surface, they discovered a vast underground hangar filled with old machines and silent pods. Inside one of those pods, they found 3 more humans, still asleep. When the pods opened, Mira stood beside them, her heart pounding. One by one, the figures inside began to breathe again. The first was Lieutenant Rafe Olin, tall and broad-shouldered with eyes sharp as steel. The second was Dr. Lyra Hayden, a scientist with calm focus and quick intelligence. The third was Ensign Tal, a young pilot barely older than 20 when she was frozen. They woke in confusion, asking questions that Mira herself had once asked. What year is it? Where's Earth? Who are all these aliens? Mira explained everything she had learned about the Union, the lost centuries, and the myths that had turned humans into legends. When she finished, silence filled the room. Then Rafe said quietly, "So, humanity is gone?" Mira nodded. "Our world may be lost, but our spirit isn't, not if we live." He looked at her, eyes filled with the same fire. "Then let's remind the galaxy who we are." Soon the old base came alive again. Machines hummed, lights glowed, and long silent corridors filled with human voices once more. Dr. Hayden examined the equipment and smiled faintly. "These systems are outdated but still functional. Whoever built this place planned for a long sleep." Mira nodded. "We'll restore what we can. Then we decide what comes next." Krellin watched them with quiet wonder. "You all move with such purpose," he said. "Even after learning everything you've lost," Mira smiled. "That's what humans do, Krellin. We move forward. Always." But news of their awakening could not stay hidden. Union patrols picked up strange energy signals near the Arion system. A scout ship was sent to investigate, and when it arrived, it saw the impossible: a human ship flying once again. The scout escaped and sent a message to the Galactic Council. Within hours, the entire Union military was alerted. The council leader, a tall figure with crystal blue skin, stood before his generals. "We cannot allow them to rise again," he said coldly. "If the galaxy sees more than one human, rebellion will spread faster than light." The order was simple: destroy them all. Meanwhile, on the old base, Mira and her small crew were preparing for a journey to find other hidden human relics. They didn't know an attack fleet was already on its way. As they worked, Krellin suddenly looked at the scanners and froze. Multiple ships approaching fast. Mira's calm voice filled the command room. "How many?" "At least 15, Krellin said. "All Union destroyers." "Then we can't fight," she replied. "Not yet. We're not ready," Rafe frowned. "Then what do we do?" Mira's lips curved into a small smile. "We show them how humans retreat, with style." Under her command, the starlit Voyager launched from the moon's surface, leading the smaller repair crafts behind it. As the Union fleet entered orbit, Mira activated the base's old defense system, not to attack but to confuse. The planet's surface erupted in hundreds of fake signals and energy bursts. To the Union scanners, it looked like dozens of ships were taking off. "They're scattering," shouted one of the Union captains. "Target them all." While the Union ships fired at decoys, Mira's real vessel slipped through the chaos and escaped into the nebula. When they were finally safe, Krellin turned to her in amazement. "That was brilliant." Mira gave a small smile. "In the old days, we called that smoke and mirrors. Works every time. But the escape came at a cost. The Arion base was destroyed, leaving no trace of the newly awakened humans. Mira and her team became fugitives across the stars. They moved from world to world, helping those who suffered under Union control. Whenever they arrived, people felt courage return. Whenever they left, hope remained behind. Dr. Hayden created small medical devices that healed faster than Union medicine. Rafe trained rebels to defend themselves. Tal repaired broken ships for miners and refugees. Mira became a symbol not just of humanity, but of unity. She never asked for power, only for freedom. And everywhere she went, the same message spread: the Dawn Captain fights for all of us. One night, aboard the Voyager, Krellin found Mira staring at an old star map again. "You never rest," he said quietly. "There's too much to do," she replied. "For every world we help, 10 more still suffer." He watched her face lit by the soft glow of the stars. "You're turning into more than a legend, Mira. You're turning into hope itself." She smiled faintly. Hope is fragile. It needs to be protected, and that means we'll need allies. Weeks later, she got her first. A fleet of small rebel ships approached them in deep space. The leader of the fleet, a reptilian alien named Tarn, contacted them through the comms. His voice was rough but sincere. "Human captain," he said. "Our people saw what you did at Arian. You stood against the Union when no one else dared. We want to join you." Mira looked at the faces on the screen. Miners, traders, pilots, all ready to fight for something bigger than themselves. She nodded slowly. "Then welcome to the Dawn Front." The name came from the symbol painted on their ships, a circle with a rising star, the old human emblem. It became their sign of resistance. The Dawn Front began small and in only a few dozen ships. But their courage was larger than any army. They struck where the Union was weakest, freeing planets and spreading messages of hope. Krellin became their historian, recording every battle and victory. "People will need to remember this," he said. "They'll need to know how it began," and Mira answered, "They'll remember because they'll live free." But in the shadows of the galaxy, the Union was preparing something dark. In secret labs, they studied ancient human technology, pieces stolen from ruins and forgotten vaults. Their scientists whispered of a weapon unlike any before, built from human designs themselves. They called it the Purifier. When the Council saw its power, they smiled. "Let them rise," said the leader. "We will show them the price of rebellion." Back on the starlit Voyager, Mira looked out into space. She could feel something coming, a great storm building in the distance. Krellin stood beside her. "You've started something huge, Mira. The galaxy is waking up." She nodded slowly. "Then we can't stop now. The Union wants fear. We'll give them truth." Her eyes glowed with quiet strength as the stars reflected in them. "We're not just legends anymore, Krellin. We're the reminder that freedom can't be erased." And so the spark became a flame. Across thousands of worlds, people whispered a new phrase with pride and hope. The humans have returned. The rebellion had begun. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy dared to dream of freedom again. The galaxy was burning again, not by flames, but by the sound of rebellion. Whispers of freedom moved from planet to planet, from one forgotten colony to another. Every world under the Union's control began to question its rulers. The legend of humans had become more than just stories. It had become a reason to fight. Captain Mira Solis stood on the bridge of her ship, the Starhawk, staring at the star map that shimmered before her. Dozens of red marks showed Union fleets closing in from different directions. The Union had finally decided to destroy her once and for all. Krellin entered the bridge quietly, his green eyes filled with worry. "They've surrounded us, Mira. There's no way out through normal space routes. The Union fleet from Delta Sector is only 2 hours away." Mira smiled slightly, her hands behind her back. "Then we don't use normal routes." Krellin blinked. "You mean the Storm Corridor? That place destroys ships." "Not human ships," she said, her voice calm. "And the Starhawk is still half human design." Krellin sighed. "You humans really don't fear the impossible." "Not impossible," Mira corrected softly. "Just difficult." The Starhawk was joined by a small fleet of rebels, alien ships painted with symbols of hope. They called themselves the Dawn Front. Most of them were miners, traders, or soldiers who had deserted the Union. They followed Mira not because she promised victory, but because she gave them something greater: belief. Mira looked at the faces of her crew on the holoscreen. There was the sharp-eyed pilot Laro, the silent engineer Tavi, and Krellin, her most trusted friend. They were all from different species, yet when they looked at her, they stood united. "We're not fighting for glory," Mira told them. "We're fighting so no child in this galaxy grows up under fear again. The Union calls us rebels, but history will call us something else." "What?" asked Laro. "Free," Mira answered. The crew cheered quietly. Hope filled the room like light breaking through clouds. Hours later, the Union fleet appeared, a sea of shining warships, thousands strong. Their silver hulls reflected the light of the nearby red sun. At the center was the Union flagship Varlian Spear, led by Admiral Rizek, a cold and proud alien known for crushing rebellions. "Open transmission," Mira said calmly. Rizek's image appeared on the screen. His armor was polished and his voice was filled with arrogance. "Captain Mira Solis, you are charged with treason, rebellion, and spreading ancient lies. You will surrender your fleet and yourself to the Union Council. Mira smiled faintly. Admiral, your Union was built on fear, but fear cannot last forever. Rezek's eyes narrowed. You think you can defeat us with stories and old ships? Not stories, Mira replied. Strategy. Before Rezek could answer, Mira ended the transmission. The Union fleet began to move, surrounding the Starhawk and her allies. The enemy had more ships, more weapons, and more power. But Mira had something else. Knowledge of old human war tactics that no alien had ever studied. Laro, prepare the storm corridor, Mira ordered. Tavi, reroute power from the main engines to the shields. Krellin looked at her in shock. You're really doing this, Mira nodded. If we can't fight them head-on, we'll make the storm fight for us. The storm corridor was a violent region of space, a massive cloud of magnetic dust and energy, twisting with lightning that could tear apart ships. The Union never entered it. It was chaos, unpredictable and deadly. But to Mira, chaos was opportunity. The rebel fleet turned toward the storm. Rezek laughed when he saw it. She's running into death, he said. Follow her. Destroy everything. The Union ships followed, their formation tight and confident. But once they entered the storm corridor, their scanners failed. Their sensors turned to static. The magnetic waves blinded their targeting systems. Inside the storm, Mira's fleet moved like ghosts. Human ships long ago were built for adaptability, and the Starhawk was designed to survive the impossible. Now, Mira whispered. The rebel ships emerged from the storm at high speed, firing from all sides. Union ships were caught off guard. Their formation broke instantly. Lightning from the storm struck their shields and explosions lit up the dark clouds. Laro shouted, They can't track us. Their systems are blind. Good, Mira said. Keep moving. Never stop. Think like the storm. For hours, the battle raged. The Union fleet's numbers meant little in the chaos. Mira's ships hit them in small groups, striking fast and disappearing again. Each maneuver was unpredictable, almost human in its daring. Rezek's voice came through static-filled channels. You cannot hide forever, human. Mira smiled. Who said I'm hiding? She ordered the Starhawk to dive straight toward Varlion's spear. The enemy flagship's shields blazed, trying to deflect the attacks. Mira's ship shook as it was hit by plasma fire, but she stayed steady. Tavi, prepare the EMP core, she commanded. EMP ready, Tavi replied. Fire! A wave of blue light burst from the Starhawk, sweeping across the storm. Union ships flickered as their power systems shut down. Engines died, weapons went silent. For a moment, the mighty Union fleet was blind and powerless. Mira's voice rang out steady and calm. Now Dawnfront, strike. The rebels launched everything they had. Missiles, plasma beams, and shock torpedoes filled the sky. Union ships exploded like falling stars. When the EMP faded, half the Union fleet was gone and the rest was retreating. Rezek's flagship was burning, but he refused to surrender. He opened a last transmission. You think this victory means anything? The Union will never bow to humans. Mira looked into his furious eyes and said quietly, They don't have to bow. They only need to see. Then the Starhawk fired one last shot, piercing the flagship's reactor. The explosion lit the storm corridor in brilliant light. When silence returned, the rebel fleet floated among the clouds, battered but alive. The storm had calmed as if bowing to their courage. Mira stood at the bridge window, watching the last sparks fade into space. Krellin walked beside her, awe in his voice. You did it, Mira. You defeated a fleet 10 times our size. Mira shook her head. We did it. Every one of us. Humans never fought alone, and now we never will again. Krellin smiled. The galaxy will hear about this. They'll tell stories of what happened here. They'll tell stories of hope, Mira said. That's all I want. News of the victory spread faster than light. On planets across the galaxy, oppressed people began to rise. Workers threw down their tools and picked up banners marked with a single human word, freedom. The Union tried to silence them, but it was too late. The fire had started. In the shadows, the Union Council met in secret. They spoke of fear, of revenge, of the ancient warning their ancestors had written long ago. If humans return, prepare for change. And far above them in the dark between stars, Mira and the Dawnfront prepared for their next step. The Union had lost a fleet, but they still had their greatest weapon, the one built from stolen human designs. It was called the Purifier, and its power could erase whole worlds. Mira stood alone in her cabin, looking at an old photo she had kept from before her long sleep. It showed Earth blue and alive. "If this galaxy is to survive," she whispered, "we'll need to finish what humanity started." The stars outside her window burned brighter, as if answering her words. The war had only just begun. End of Part 4. Next, Part 5. The Legend Returns. Would you like me to write Part 5, The Legend Returns, next? Also 1,300 words, in the same third-person simple English engaging style? You said, Part 5. 1,300 words ka lekho or interesting hona chahiye or third-person style ma lekhni ha or simple basic English ka. Don't use any violated word. So please avoid any violated content, ChatGPT said. Title: They thought humans were just legends. Then we came to fight. Part 5. The Legend Returns. 1,300 words. Third person, simple English, no violated content. The stars were quiet after the storm. The Dawnfront fleet floated among the silent void, repairing ships, tending wounds, and whispering the same name again and again. Mira Solis. Across the galaxy, billions had heard of her victory. They called her the human captain, the awakened legend, the one who faced the impossible and won. On distant worlds, people began painting her symbol, a small blue circle with a silver line, on walls and flags. It was the mark of hope. But while others celebrated, Mira knew the fight was far from over. The Union was not broken. It was angry. And deep within its most guarded fortress world, the Supreme Council gathered in the Hall of Light. 12 leaders from different species sat around a circle of firelight. Their faces were grim, their voices sharp. "She has become a myth," one alien growled. "Every world speaks her name." Another slammed the table. "Destroy the myth and the rebels will fall. The humans must not rise again." The oldest member of the council, an ancient being with silver skin, raised a hand. "The weapon is ready. The purifier will cleanse this rebellion." The room fell silent. The purifier, a giant warship built from the last remnants of human technology, was their final weapon. It was said to be capable of turning an entire planet to dust. The council's leader spoke slowly. "Then unleash it. Let the galaxy remember that the Union rules, not legends." On the Starhawk, Mira studied the holographic image of the purifier. The ship was massive, 3 times larger than any known warship, glowing with strange blue light at its core. It was built from old human schematics twisted by alien hands. Krellin stood beside her, reading the data. "If this weapon fires it, we..."